Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
It is that day of the week where we summarize and discuss what happens within the week. Today, the Weekly Matters is discussing issues of the coast province, the coast region. That's Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi. We're discussing marginalization, how we have come out of that, to devolution, to the drug menace, and radicalization and disappearances. I am glad to have with me lawyer Abdallah Mazrui and human rights activist and writer Shaaban Maalim. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
If I start with you, Wakili.
Yes, sir.
And before devolution, the coast region and some other parts of northern Kenya, they have always cried of marginalization.
Yes.
We went to now devolution.
Yes.
6 years.
Yes.
Before we go deep into, give us a summary view of where we have been as a marginalized counties, yes, and what has happened the last 5 years in terms of devolution.
I think this is a historical issue. Bismillah, alhamdulillah,
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to your show. This is a historical issue because I think this didn't even start recently. It started when the colonialists came. They had their own agenda. And when they came to the coastal region, they found Muslims in northeastern, a lot of Muslims. Historically, the Europeans who colonized these areas of Africa had issues with Islam and Muslims. So it was a deliberate, I believe, policy on their part to marginalize those areas so that the Muslims do not go forward, and they make sure that they marginalize them and take them backwards. So this was built in the colonial period and then entered into the independence period. Muslims were always treated somehow as less than proper citizens with less than full rights. We know what happened, the shift of time,
yes,
and a lot of things have happened.
Yes.
And so there was marginalization. But I do want to add that generally it happened to the Muslims, no doubt about it, but also some other regions as well, the northern regions in general.
Yes.
And then, of course, there was a big clamor for change and reform. For a long period of time, decades it happened, until finally, as you said, there came that new constitution where people were promised manna on earth,
Yes,
and heaven,
yes, yes.
which in my view has not yet
Materialized.
has not yet materialized. People
Yes.
are still waiting for it to fall.
Yes.
But so now the idea was that now to decentralize power, because maybe power was centralized and was being used in an arbitrary manner in the capital. So devolution was supposed to decentralize it and give more access to rights and services to people from different regions. So that was the concept behind devolution. It may have devolved corruption.
Yes.
That may be what has actually happened.
Yes. Now, Shaaban,
Yes.
if I bring you to the discussion,
Yeah.
Wakili has taken us, a short but
short brief, okay.
precise to the point,
Right.
review of, whatever happened within 50 years
Yeah,
in
right.
seconds.
Right.
You come from the coast. How you have written about these things
Right.
as a writer?
Right.
What has changed since we ushered in the new constitution and devolution was implemented in 2013?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me in the show. I think if you look at the problems really at the coast province or generally, you'll come to realize that things are changing from bad to worse, so to speak.
Yes.
Despite some simple changes, I can call it, cosmetic changes, but actually things are coming worse. AhmedKadar, let me tell you, looking at the problems starting from unemployment, poor education, or even the corruption. And unfortunately, the bad manners has been devolved, so to speak. So we expected maybe things to happen in a different way, but this was not the way to go. So down 6 years, situation in coast and not particular coast, even some regions countrywide, things have not moving into a right direction.
Yes, sir.
We have been talking of marginalization.
Yes.
Here, power has been devolved to us.
Yes.
We have been given money.
Yes.
And we are marginalizing ourselves.
I was going to interject when my
Yes.
brother was speaking, but you give me a good chance to speak here.
Yes.
There was this simple understanding, I can call it simplistic understanding or naive understanding, that simply because we have somebody who is from our area, once he takes power, he will take care of us. That is not the way politics works.
Yes.
Politics is not simply because somebody looks like you or has a similar name means definitely that he will take care of your interests. What has actually happened is that an elitist class, we can say, has risen from within us, who are more interested, I would believe, in taking care of their own interests rather than the general masses. Honestly, it is a shame.
Yes.
It is a shame, but that is a reality. It's also like a mirror of what happened in independence. Remember that people fought for independence on the basis that we have outsiders ruling, so that when these outsiders leave and leave somebody from the region ruling, things will be better. We found that not necessarily happened.
Yes.
Just because somebody looks like you doesn't mean that he will take care of you.
The issue of people voting in the same, saying ni mtu wetu
anatoka kwetu.
Yes.
Hiyo si haina maana kwamba mambo yatakuwa ni mazuri. Doesn't mean that things will be better.
Yes.
So I think this devolution, the concept, there's nothing wrong with the concept as such. Devolving services to make them closer to wananchi is a good idea.
Yes.
But you have to make sure. I think the constitution was a document which changed from the old constitution, new constitution, but the basic thinking and values have not changed.
But Wakili, we have chapter 6 in the constitution.
Yes.
And we have talked of the basic values.
Yes.
Why are we not implementing that as far as leadership is concerned?
The leadership, because it's the same leadership in a sense. I mean, really, if you look at the political class, they have not changed. It's the political class in the old system, under the old constitution is the same under the new dispensation. But maybe one question we should ask ourselves is why are wananchi allowing these things to continue? Because if you talk to wananchi, they will tell you, yes, they're all the same, they're not taking care of us, look at the prices are rising, their salaries are rising, but our lives are worse. But this same person is ready to continue playing the same game. Means, as we said, voting mtu wake.
Yes.
Even though he's aware that mtu wake is not doing the right job. So there's a problem with the political class, no doubt. But there's also a relationship between the rulers and the ruled. The ruled have an issue here, that they are still allowing themselves to play a charade, and they know it is a charade.
Now, when Shaaban,
Yeah.
you have said, despite the good side of devolution, it's like we have devolved all sorts of bad manners.
Corruption and
but if you look at the auditor's report,
right.
Yes.
every year there's an auditor's report.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
I read the auditor's report.
Right.
Now you see that the money that's given to this so-called previously
Counties,
marginalized
right.
counties
Right.
is more than what some
Yes.
other parts of the country
Yes, yes,
get.
of course. Yes.
Yes, we have nothing to show for it.
Yes.
Where are we getting wrong? Yet there was an election, we
Yes.
didn't change leadership.
Yes.
In most of parts of the coast and the Muslim counties, we didn't change the leadership.
Yeah.
In fact, they came back.
Yeah, and let me go back to the genesis of devolution, as Wakil has put it. I think if you watch keenly, you see there were so many problems. In fact, in the political class, there was this wrangle between the national government and the
Mostly in Mombasa.
and the county government.
County
okay?
governments, yes.
In terms of disbursement, the funds,
yes.
that maybe the national treasury is not equitably dispersing the funds to the locals. So we have been seeing health crisis, right? So it should be absorbed by the national government or county government.
It's as if they're throwing blame to
Blame
each
to
other.
each other.
If you blame the local or the
Yes.
county,
Right.
they'll tell you, no, we have not received the funds.
Yes.
If you try to account the national, they said, no, look, as you said, there's the revenue division and allocation.
Yes.
We have been given a principal structure, and we have disbursed it. So Mwananchi is being thrown from one ball to one pitch to another. He doesn't know who is going to account.
So,
yeah.
Go on.
Now, and on top of that, Kadara, you should remind yourself as we have been. It's really, my head is aching, Kadara. 50 years since independence, there is a trial and error kind of leadership. This is my wonder. It's a big blow, really.
Yes.
We are talking about 50 years. We are still not sure. We are just trying, because I understand there are even some political class who have now arguing that we have to scrap. You have to abolish the devolved system.
Like they're thinking,
Like they're thinking.
Some people are saying that.
the Senate.
The Senate,
A member of Parliament is suggesting
get rid of the
that we
Senate.
get into the Senate.
Yes.
But one thing people don't understand is that we need to educate our viewers that you see the Senate has even less representative than the number of
Parliament.
People in the National Assembly are much more.
Yet the Senate is supposed to act as the guardian of devolved system. Now, talking of error and
Trial and error
leadership.
Yes.
I want us to talk about what's happening right now. As we speak, there's chaos in Parliament.
In Parliament, yes.
As we speak.
Right. Yes.
The whole House, they are claiming, voted unanimously no.
No,
Right.
yet.
But someone said
The numbers have passed.
The numbers have passed. What's your take on that before we go back to our topic? It's a very important thing. Wakili, maybe.
You know,
Yes.
it's as if they have rules, but they're not sure about the rules.
Yes.
Huh? And the referee, you don't know on whose side they are playing.
Yes.
Because, referee is supposed to be neutral,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah. And he's supposed to speak fairly and exactly what's going on. But at the end of the day, you must remember that anybody in those positions has some relationships with the executive. That is a fact. That's a reality. So if you're expecting pure neutrality there, it is very difficult to expect.
But what's so hard about sticking to the basic rules and the standards of the house?
Let me just to add
Yes,
on that.
yes,
I think, Kadara, you have put our parliament, the so-called parliament, okay? We have seen also some quite of a battle between the executive and parliament. And in democracy world, they say that the parliament has to be independent, judiciary has to be independent, wakilizia, and even the executive should be independent. But what we see, some things, some strange things happening. Decisions can be made from somewhere, they know them, then back to parliament. Then you see that there is sort of a collision between these two, maybe between the two arms of government.
Yes.
Parliament is not given chance to decide. Sometimes decisions coming from outside.
Are imposed upon them.
Do we have parliamentary leadership crisis?
There is an issue. There's an issue.
Majority
Before even parliamentary crisis, you know that there's crisis in the parties.
Yes.
You know, parliament is party based,
Yes.
and you know that there's serious difficulties in all the parties. You know that
Yes.
with the so-called opposition, which you said there's handshake politics now.
Yes.
So you don't know if there's an opposition or not.
Yes.
So there's wrangles within the opposition, and even within the ruling party. You know that there are issues. So you're not even sure who's speaking for who anymore. Because somebody will say, I'm speaking for the party, I say this. Somebody will say, no, he's not speaking for the party, and I say different. So there's party crisis, which breeds into parliamentary crisis, which really leads into national crisis. I wanted to add, I don't know if I have a chance to just add something else.
Yes.
You know, some of these things, I think, are even greater than the way we are thinking. Yes. We're just looking at it from a local or national perspective.
Right.
Do you know that if you've been following this matter, you'll realize that in a sense, this has been dictated by the IMF.
Yes.
In a sense, it's as if, you claim to be, people claim independence, but there are extra national bodies which can impose their will. Wananchi can cry. I mean, there's nobody on the ground. No person will support this increase. No person out of all the population. Yet it will still pass. Why? Because there are greater powers, in quotation marks, from outside who said that you must do this. There's no way out of it. Yes? So this is, I think, a greater issue we must look at. Have we really come out of the colonial era?
Yes. Kadara, Wakil has mentioned a very critical point I wish also to emphasize on it. I think we have to look at this issue in a broader perspective. If you look at the wrangles, economic wrangles, political issues, you see, you cannot isolate this case from the foreign intervention. I understand the Bretton Woods Conference, that is 1944, where the financial orders were launched, IMF and World Bank. Now, this was to be as tools now to control the economy of the third world countries.
Yes.
So even Henry Rotich and Secretary of Finance, he admitted that these things coming from outside, and we have no way.
Mheshimiwa Bilal
Mheshimiwa.
Kero called the minister in his tweet. He tweeted that the minister for finance, Henry Rotich, is a test tube. IMF Mandarin.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
So our economy is driven by IMF and World Bank. And still we claim that we are independent.
Yes.
So
now, okay, coming back to our topic of the day.
Yes.
I'm reminded we have less than 2 minutes, but we are going to go back and come back. But we can still continue until we are told so.
Yes.
And coming back to our topic, we are talking about devolution in the cost.
Yes.
How is, now that we are talking about the tax at the national level, and we know this has a spiral effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, the counties are passing laws,
their own taxation
that hurt the common Mwananchi. Where do we balance things?
Listen, the Mwananchi is being hit from all sides nowadays.
Wakili,
Yes.
We leave it there.
Okay.
We are going for a break. We start from there.
That is
I'd
fine.
like to remind our viewers that we are also live on our Facebook page. That is Horizon TV Kenya. Also on Twitter at Horizon TV. Myself at AhmedKadar Kadar. I'm your host of the show, as you know, The Weekly Matters. We are going for a break. Keep it there.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
If you're just joining us, we are on the Weekly Matters as usual every Friday, and we are discussing tonight matters cost, from governance to politics to taxation and the current happenings. With me is Wakili Abdallah Mazrui and human rights activist and writer Shaaban Maalim. Before we went for break, Wakili,
Yes.
we have been talking about taxation issues.
Yes.
We have talked about the national taxation, which is right now
Yes.
the whole is a controversial.
Crisis, controversial,
But
crisis.
we said the counties also pass their own taxation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where do you reconcile the two?
It's a problem. As I mentioned before we went on break, the poor Mwananchi is being hit on both sides because national taxation is increasing and also local taxation or county taxation is increasing. The rates, as you know, in Mombasa County, for example, went up by almost 400% over the last 5 years. I mean, that is an incredible amount, which is supposed to take care of the county expenses, apart from other things that they have raised, including, for example, advertising. Advertising
yes.
went up quite high as well. But then when you look at, can you point to where things have really improved, you know, to show the person that, okay, I'm being taxed, but I'm seeing something out of it. You don't
Yes.
really see it.
Yes.
We still have issues of water supply. We still have issues of electricity supply.
Garbage.
You know?
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I mean, really, as I said, you're being hit. Sometimes you don't know where to turn.
Yes. Now, Shaaban.
Yes.
You know, a taxation regime must basically be one that enables businesses.
Right.
So if this taxation are killing businesses, especially the counties, the one, what is the point of having them? What is your take on that? You know?
Taxation, Kadara, let me tell you the truth. Taxation is, as they put, capitalists, they have a saying that taxation is unnecessary evil. Is a necessary evil. So, Mwananchi wonders, the government keeps taxing man, okay, the common man who is really struggling, is living in a sluggish economy. Understand that we are living in a beyond a poverty line, almost 6% of the Kenyans, okay, including the custodians. So taxation has hurt the common man, and the Mwananchi keeps asking questions, answerable questions. Why are we taxed at the expense to feed who? Now the question comes: this taxation, for your information, Kadara, taxation is to fund the budget, right?
Yes.
But damning reports reveal that a third of our budget is looted.
Yes.
So it is really...
Yeah, it's there. Even the Auditor General report is actually...
It's written quite openly.
But we're talking
Quite
about
openly.
now, and
Yes. Yes.
let's get out of this issue of, you know...
How can you get out of it?
How can you get out of it?
Right.
Just pray that things work. Now, Wakili.
Yes.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
You have handled this question I'm going to ask next.
Yes.
We know that in the coast
Yes.
and generally the Muslim
areas.
counties,
Yeah.
there has been disappearance of people,
Yes.
extrajudicial killings,
Absolutely. Arbitrary arrest,
detention.
Yes.
Much as we want to fight
Yes.
terrorism,
Yes.
much as we want
Yes.
to, we Muslims should take part in ensuring that the fight against radicalization and terrorism is won. Also, there is we must have respect for basic human rights. But what has been your observance over the years as you have been handling these cases?
Right. Practically, as I said, I have handled some of these cases, and some people have come and reported to me these cases. It is very unfortunate because we have multiple, and not only talking one-sided accounts. Well documented accounts of many people who have disappeared, some who are finally confirmed to be renditioned elsewhere, some who have, when people don't really know, we have women who don't know if they're widows or not, or children don't know if they're orphans or not. A very terrible situation. This is a fact, this is a reality. It cannot be swept under the rug.
Yes.
And of course, if anybody wants to fight crime or what they call terrorism, you want to be careful that the way you do it does not in itself make people become so angry that they lose control and that they become extra violent because of the way they feel that they are being oppressed. Oppression and repression by its nature make people violent.
Yes.
Illa man rahima rabbi. Because
of course.
you understand.
Yes.
So these types of policies, and I keep saying this sometimes. I say they're not even necessarily local policies. As you know, this is happening is global issue.
Yeah.
Global. Since 9/11, America has become almost like mad in its pursuit of what they call terrorists. And they are in, for example, in Afghanistan now, they're in the 17th year of war. Do you know in American history they've never fought a war that long? Afghanistan is a small country.
Yes.
With a small number of people.
Yes.
How can you be in war with in Afghanistan for 17
years? Now, Shaaban.
Yes.
You know, this issue is there.
Yeah.
But it looks like even the way the people are handled is getting better by the day.
We
somehow,
hope so.
somehow,
We hope so.
What has been your take? You have written about it. We've seen in the cost, and what is the way forward for it as far as the issue of radicalization and disappearance is concerned, and where should be the line be drawn between respecting people's right and fighting terror?
I think let us start with the basic human rights. As human rights should be observed, and law is there to protect the rights of the person, regardless is innocence or guilty. The thing that has not happened, the thing that has not happened in the so-called war on terror. We have seen people just gunned down, right? And no court order, or even court order has not been obeyed, right? So, as a right and activist, I've seen families really living in fear, terror. They think that we are living in a country as outsiders or as strangers in the country. The country is not run by law, and this is a disaster. To complain. So, with regards to radicalization, I think if there is a problem within the Muslim society, we have shuyukh, ulama. They can sit down, right, and bring stakeholders within Islamic spectrum, and they discuss this issue without an interfere from by force or something of that sort.
Now,
Okay?
Wakili, talking of bringing stakeholders together,
Right.
and the ulama,
Yes.
also the Muslims in this country have come out also to fight against terrorism, because it's not our religion.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
we all know that.
Yes.
People resisting Islam cannot be called,
Right.
cannot fight for Islam. Right. And you know very well that there was a Muslim teacher who was killed while protecting a fellow citizen
That's
who was not a Muslim.
Was not a Muslim, but he was not accepting.
And he has been recognized globally.
Yes.
And many other incidents that happen where Muslims have saved their fellow citizens who are not Muslims from this madness of terrorism.
Yes.
So don't you think the same should be applied by security forces when dealing with the Muslim communities in the fight against terror?
Yeah. The security forces, I don't know if they have an understanding of these issues, or when they say discipline, means they're supposed to just obey commands. You wonder whether they try to figure out whether these commands make sense or they don't make sense. But the thing I worry about, particularly when people keep talking about radicalization, what I do not want, and what I don't think anyone, not only any Muslim, but I don't think anybody with any faith and belief, and our belief is strong and solid and centuries old. I don't think we need anybody from outside to tell us what we can believe and practice. We need to be able to organize ourselves, yes? But I don't think, for example, I'm not going to tell somebody who's not a Muslim what they must believe and do, isn't it? I don't expect, and I will not accept anybody from whoever he may be, come with whatever intentions they claim they have, to come and tell me as a Muslim what I can and cannot believe or practice. I think this is amongst Muslims we have discussion. We have the Quran and we have the Sunnah. We have the classical scholars, particularly when we talk about scholars. We have the classical scholars, the well-respected people have no question, not like some of, sometimes people question some of the modern scholars. But when you talk about the classical scholars who laid good groundwork of what is the framework of Islam, what is within the boundary of Islam, and what is beyond, we can always refer to them and come to a common understanding. But what I don't think is acceptable by any means, not for any Muslim alone, for anybody who has any faith, I don't think they'll allow anybody outside of that faith to dictate to them what they can and they cannot believe. This will not work. If it's seen that the fight against radicalization is an imposed fight, is an external fight, is other people with their agendas coming to tell Muslims what to believe and do, believe me, it cannot succeed. It cannot succeed, ever. It must be something that Muslims ourselves, as I said, we have a discussion, an honest discussion amongst ourselves. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and why? What is the dalil, what is the evidence for all this? And then we'll have a common understanding. As you said, Muslims are generally take care of their neighbors, whether they're Muslims or not, respect people, do not force people to come into Islam that is well known historical about us. We talk about the coast and northeastern.
Yes.
In those areas, Islam has been there for centuries, not more than 1,000 years.
Yes.
Yet there are non-Muslims there as well.
Who live there?
Yet
Yes.
there's never been
Who
any
have
problem,
worked
hasn't
there?
it? Somebody
Who
needs to
stayed
ask,
there? Yes.
who is benefiting? I think some people need to think about this seriously. Who is benefiting from creating
That-
friction
yes.
and some type of a new type of struggle between communities who have lived together for
long.
generations without
Yes.
problem. There must be somebody who is winding
So there's
this
an
up.
external factor.
It's an external
Now,
factor.
Shaaban,
Yes.
much as we know that Muslims need to fight against radicalization and contribute to it so that we all live in peace, we cannot deny the fact that also the issue of radicalization exists. How do we save our youth from this kind of madness, for lack of a better word?
First of all, Kadara, I would like to remind our viewers also one of the critical meetings that Obama held, I think his first inauguration, 2008, in Cairo, Missouri. He put very clearly that they're fighting there are two kinds of there are two brands of two Islam. One Islam that is in coexistence with American values, so they'll fight it back. Yeah. And Islam that maybe is in line with so-called international values.
Western style.
So we have to be very clear when we're talking about radicalization or the so-called war on terror, because let me tell you, Kadara, sincerely, there are some scholars, even Western scholars, have agreed that the war on terror is dubious. They have to put it, the war on terror should be put on microscope. They feel that this war is, it has a political agenda, a hidden political agenda. Now, back to your question, I've said very early this show that we have to agree as Muslim society, we need to organize ourselves. We have, we have everything. We can use our mosque, we can use even madrasa to organize ourselves. No one can come to dictators and maybe give us solutions. We possess the solutions. Quran is with us. The Sunnah is with us. So I think maybe if we lack proper mechanism, that is our shame. But Islam is capable of giving us key elements to come and curb the problem and organize ourselves as a society.
Okay, having said that,
sorry, I don't know if I can add something very quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
When he mentioned that, when he said that there's a hidden agenda, I think we cannot remember. There was a time, there was the Cold War. There was the Western world against the Eastern world. Capitalism against communism. And then remember, there came a time when communism collapsed.
Yes.
Now, you want to understand that about that time is when suddenly Islam became the specter or the monster or the threat to humanity. There was a reason behind it, because what would justify the continued colonization? What would justify the continued military bases and occupation of many places? You have to justify it. Before, the justification was we are fighting communism. Now, after the collapse of communism, you need to have a new bogeyman which will justify your occupation and continued colonization.
Yes.
I think that's a reality which cannot be ignored. That's the political agenda here.
Of course.
Now, on the issue of, we're still on the issue of now disappearances.
Yes.
We hear sometimes, people disappearing.
Yes.
You have acted as a lawyer.
Yes.
Maybe you can make us understand what this is all about.
Yes. What we have a problem, practically what I have faced is that, for example, people are arrested arbitrarily. We don't understand why. We hear maybe there's a suspicion of terrorism or whatever, but these are well-known personalities, imams. Some people are well-known, some people are but some people are also well-known. So what we do, we run to the court because we have a judicial structure. You run to the court and you get an order, at least what you call habeas corpus orders, that even if you've arrested him, at least present him before the court. Let the court be aware that there's such a person under detention, and then, ask if you don't want, you can argue against a bond or whatever, but at least produce him. I've had multiple instances where I've got these orders in hand from the court, but when you try to serve, there's nobody to serve, or they're not obeyed, or that person has already been spirited, in fact, sometimes outside of the country.
Yes.
So, when you reach such a situation, what do you tell people? What do you tell people? When you tell people, they can be protected within a judicial structure, but then when they follow the rules till the end, they find that it doesn't protect them. What do you tell such people? It becomes very difficult. You don't know what to tell them.
So they now come to the street. They can react. Because maybe they feel that
instances people feel that there's no justice.
There's no justice. So everybody's every man for himself. Might is right. Do whatever. That's what I said.
Right.
This is a time of the policies or actions which contribute to this problem. There's a contributory factors to these problems.
Of course, we are still in the discussion. You know, and the show is getting interesting. But we are taking our second break. We'll be back. Keep it there. But before we go for a break, I would like to remind you also we are live on our social media platforms. That is Horizon TV Kenya on Facebook, Twitter at Horizon TV, myself at AhmedKadar 1. Keep it there.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Welcome back to the show. If you are just joining us, we are in our last segment of the weekly matters this evening. And with me is lawyer Abdallah Mazrui and human rights activist and writer Shaaban Maalim. Before we went for and of course I'm your host AhmedKadar. Before we went for break, we have been discussing many issues from marginalization, devolution to radicalization. Now the elephant in the room, as far as the cost is concerned, SGR, the standard gauge railway that was built in the name of taking the economy of the coast and the country to the next level. Forward.
2030.
But I have on social media, Kenyans express themselves so much.
Of course.
People talk about issues.
Yes.
There's one guy called Fawz, who's from the coast.
Yes.
Who has made SGR his topic.
Okay.
And makes the rest of people understand these things. Yes. And if I got him right, it's like the SGR did not take the course where it was supposed to be. I would like to hear from you, Akili.
You know, the SGR is a shiny new toy.
Yes.
It's a very shiny new toy. So, people like toys sometimes. But then when you look into it in detail, of course, having modern transport is very good, isn't it? But the question is now, it's being used, the SGR, as if to move the port now. Because Mombasa port is the gateway for 90% of the imports of East and Central Africa. That is well known. But now what is happening is that they're using the SGR railway. They transfer the containers as soon as they arrive straight onto train to be brought to an inland container depot. So what you're doing is that the income that most of, the greatest income earner for the coast was the port, isn't it? Now, basically the port is being decentralized, being moved away. So that it's becoming a very serious situation.
People losing jobs.
People are losing jobs, which are losing income. People are losing livelihood. Transporters who used to transport these goods. You talk about the container depots or the port or the private depots which are close to the port. People are seriously complaining, AhmedKadar. They're seriously complaining. And there's no choice about it. This is by fiat, has been obliged, imposed.
Even whether you like it
or not, you're told your container has been sent to Nairobi, and as the SGR is supposed to be moving on to Naivasha and to Kisumu, you will go collect it up there. So it is becoming...
Now, Shaaban, the SGR is here.
Right.
Yet you want to build another road. What is the sense? Make me understand. We have an SGR which has not even paid itself. Yes, we want to build a road. Are we killing the SGR? Or what is the essence of having the road?
We don't understand.
It comes to my head. It's a question to my head. I keep asking this question now. Is this SGR was meant for the common man or for the few elites? Because I understand some projects are endorsed using common man. Okay, we are bringing economy to you. Okay, in Mombasa. I've been traveling at the SGR. That's no problem. Okay, the flow is moving, but does it have any impact on the economy of the common man? So that's my wonder. And people are really claiming right now, businessmen in Mombasa are coming bankrupt. And they have been claiming that, okay, the business space in Mombasa has been killed by SGR. So the project seems not to have not to have tangible results to the common man.
And that's the SGR.
And this,
Remember now,
yeah.
and then SGR is a project which cost officially up close to 400 billion. We don't know hidden, because in Kenya many times you come to find out down the line that it was much more costly than you were told. So we don't know what is hidden. Maybe wait for the auditor general to
Yes, now we have
the road.
SGR.
Yes, then now
320 billion worth road.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are you going to operate the road
understand.
and the SGR? Are we killing one?
We don't understand, because some of these, you don't understand, are these projects made on an economic basis or is it on a political basis? Remember I said SGR is a shiny toy. It's as if the new road will also be what? A shiny toy. So that people will be able to say, look, we have roads like Dubai, we have SGR like China. It looks good, but it's not something that has been properly considered whether it is affordable within the tax structure. A lot of people are saying that all these increased taxes...
No visibility.
Yes, no visibility.
We saw the Minister for Transport on TV talking about visibility now.
Yes.
And in common sense, we normally do. If you want to build a house,
you do visibility well before.
Way before
exactly.
you build.
Yes. These are political...
Now,
yeah.
On top of that, these mega projects, have costed the common man. We are paying the debt. The cost of paying service, right? The debt as the year, it stands at 870 billion, right? So we are paying the debt. So at the same time, you are trying to convince people that, okay, we are bringing you the modern. At the same time, you are not telling him that you are hurting him.
You're going to have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it.
And not only
for many years.
Yes.
For many years.
Not only you, because this capitalist economy is a very interesting one, AhmedKadar. Because you and I were born. Do you know? Of course, in Islam, we know we have no original sin.
Yes.
But under the capitalist system, we have an original debt.
Yes. Yeah.
We are born already. There's a debt on our head.
Yes.
We are giving birth to children now. That poor child doesn't know there's an SGR
There's
debt.
SGR.
There's this new road.
And we clearly know the debt we took the last 5 years.
Exactly.
Compared to what has been taken since independence,
it's
just too much. Now talking of the SGR still,
yes,
which was supposed to bring economy to the next level,
yes,
and employment
as well.
We have seen Kenyans complaining that they are not working there.
Yes,
it's only Chinese who are working there.
Right.
Yes.
How is the SGR contributing to, in brief, to the economy of the coast? Is it really contributing, or is it the difference?
I can say perhaps the only people who really benefited from it were the contractors.
Yes.
The main contractors, because they got a lot of money out of it.
And those who own the land.
And those who own the land. And in specific areas.
Yes.
Not the common man. The common man, his shamba, he didn't get much.
Yes.
If you understand.
Yes.
But you're talking about those people who are well connected,
yes,
who knew the route to be taken.
Yes.
And so they speculated and bought next, and then insisted and made the relation. They built the relationship and patronage network, and they got a lot of money.
Yes.
But if you talk about the common man,
yes,
as a common man, I don't see that he has really benefited out of it. Really.
Yes.
I don't see that.
Now, Shaaban.
Yes.
The SGR aside, we have the issue of drugs in the coast.
Right.
From cocaine, heroin, sometimes even ships are being, sometimes they even sunk in the ocean by the authorities. We have seen that.
Yes.
How? Give us of course we know, we may understand, but as a young man also, how is this a menace in the coast?
The problem is in fact, it's shocking and sadly, so to speak, youth jobless are dying because of the menace, and you understand that this is a global menace. Kenya is a transit hub. It's not. We do not manufacture heroin and etc. But I think what we have a problem in fighting the menace, AhmedKadar, is that we are not sincere in the war on drugs. What we've seen is we are fighting. We have just seen political posturing, so to speak, because if we are sincere, we want to fight the menace. We have to start from production, consumption, and distribution. So you cannot just come to the last stage, fighting the victim, right? The victim, and then you run away with what the distributor, the producer living. So I keep that. It's a big issue. It's a big issue. It's a big issue.
We are a Muslim region, the coast,
yes,
majority, from Lamu, Kilifi.
Yes, that's right.
We are supposed to be clean people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And set an example for people.
Absolutely.
As far as drugs and these things are concerned. We also have the same menace in this time, but this time is Mira and those kind of stuff.
Things, yes.
Now the issue is, it has been said that there are Muslim people or leaders who are in the
involved.
business or who are involved in this drug abuse, in the business of drug, which are making our children and
destroying
our
our
youth
future, destroying
the future.
You know, okay, there are many aspects. You have asked a true question, difficult but true question.
Yes.
There's the people who are involved at the highest level, who are looking at it simply, you know, they're not even human, forget Islamic, not even a human perspective. That, you know, any human being, you try to make sure that the future generation has a better life than yours. That is animal nature, forget human nature.
Yes.
You find that an animal mother, father will sacrifice themselves to save their child. So as a basic human being, forget even Islam, you're supposed to make sure that the future generation has a better life than yours. But what you find people are involved in, destroying the future generation for short-term benefit, number one. Number two, as you said, we're supposed to be clean. Islam, forget hashish or heroin. Islam has even forbid for us alcohol, which is so widespread amongst all other people.
Yes.
And said that anything that intoxicates is khamr, and kullu khamrin haram. The Prophet said. Allah has condemned this. He said it's the handiwork of shaitan. But the problem is, I tell you, where shaitan has managed to get people. He's getting people, the immature. Usually, the people who become unfortunate, tunasema wateja. We say wateja, the drug addicts. These are people, usually, they catch them at a very vulnerable age when their minds have not yet matured. So, and you know, unfortunately, the drugs of today, it's not even like Mira, you mentioned Mira or alcohol, you know. Somehow, you know, if you sink into this, there's always a possibility of getting out of it. You know, the drugs of today are so addictive that the first fix you get, you're hooked for life.
Yes.
You can see yourself crumbling, destroying your life, but you are hooked. You know, all these rehab centers we have, they're trying to get people out. But the moment they get back into the community, they go back in that environment, they fall back into that trap. So unfortunately, there are many issues. There are the people who take it just the money, they don't think about the akhirah, they don't think about the future generation. You have the corruption, the patronage networks which allow this to function. You have those immature people who get caught up in this trap, or bad friends, of course, as well, isn't it? We have to try and protect.
Okay, also the drug issue. I have had, maybe I should start with Shaaban. I have had a member of parliament from the coast the other day contributing on the floor of the house saying the education in the coast system in the coast is just so rotten. And do you think the drug has an impact on that, the issue of the drug in vis-a-vis the education?
Of course. And the drug issue has a direct impact or effect to the all levels of society, even the schools. And I would like to go back to one of the critical points that was mentioned. I've done a research on this issue concerning the global war on drugs. See, we are living in a liberal society. That is unfortunate to say, and the Muslims are not liberals. Okay, we have to restore we have to build our Islamic identities. We have to follow the Quran, the Sunnah. We have to submit to the law of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. But the society we are living is very rotten. Right? We are living in a society where the criteria in life is based on interest, benefit. So there is somebody who benefits from the business. There is somebody who is benefiting from the business. This is killing our youth, but he's getting something. And you see, Wakili, I think he has to assist us. So many cases we have had. Okay, somebody maybe has caught with heroin. It comes viral in the media. Then no firm action is not taken. So I wonder, are we really sincere in fighting the menace, or is it just a hoodwinking? Okay, we are fighting, but we are not.
And thank you for mentioning this point. Before we finish, I'd like to continue this point. You mentioned we're living in a liberal society. Liberal is a Western term, meaning a free society. Now, you know, this is very dangerous, because when you say we are free society, everybody say, yes, I want to be free. But you have to understand what they mean. They mean to be free from any type of rules, morals,
hududs, basically.
And in Islam, we must restrict ourselves to the hudud of Allah, because we know that this life is a test. And the real reward is the akhirah. So now, you know, even for the children, the youth, and when I tell immature, I said they're immature, they're young, their minds are not matured. They're also affected by this flashy lifestyle, hedonistic lifestyle that they see. And they see that all these idols and pop stars and all that, they somehow glorify this. It's not something to be glorified. But in the modern culture, such things are glorified. So it's easy if you do not protect our youth and take very good care of them. And this we have to work on. It's a shame.
We have to work.
It's a shame, but we have to work on this.
My producer is on my neck talking about the time is over. But before we go, we are concluding the whole topic. I mean the whole debate.
Yes.
We have discussed from marginalization to devolution to SGR to disappearances, radicalization. Shaaban, I would like to start with you before I come to Wakili.
Right.
Give us your parting shot, and that's your camera. And the way forward for the coast region.
Yeah, a way forward for my people in Coast, okay? We have to rebuild our identities. We as a Muslim society, we have to rebuild our
and don't forget what happened today also, in the general in the country.
Yeah, and we have to work hard, really, and we have to work very hard in terms of tackling our problems. If we have problems, and we have to admit that we have problems, we have to solve these problems in Islamic perspective.
Now, Wakili,
yes,
summarizing all these things, bearing in mind what happened today, the VAT, and generally in the country.
Yes.
Your parting shot.
I can summarize something by what our Prophet ﷺ told us. He said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariban wa sayudu ghariban kama bada." Islam started as something strange and will turn to be strange. What he meant was that it started in a world of darkness. The light of Islam came when the world was in polytheism and ignorance. And of course, Islam came and it changed the world and dominated. But now it's as if we have gone back to the old age. The new ignorance has come back in. This we're talking about, this extreme taxation, the corruption, the drug menace, you name these problems that we've been talking about. They all come down to one root, that people are not following the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we are serious, and I'm talking not individually, I'm talking about generally for the society, we need to convey the message of Islam, understanding it correctly ourselves, practicing and conveying as a solution for mankind.
Yes, going back to the roots of Islam.
Going back to the roots of Islam and calling for it as a solution.
Thank you, Wakili. Thank you very much for coming to the show. We appreciate you. And as Wakili said, let's go back to Allah and find a solution to our problems as people, as individuals, as nation. Until then, next Friday, I leave you there. Of course, social media, Facebook, Horizon TV Kenya, Twitter at Horizon TV Kenya, myself at AhmedKadar 1, and also my producer on the other side, Sulaiman, the man who makes us, this possible, Wakili. Yes. The guests are saying thank you, Sulaiman. Okay.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.